Daniel, welcome to the show. It's always exciting when I get to have you on, my brother. It is great to have you. Folks, this is Daniel Batty with Dutch Brothers Coffee. He is a gentleman in the business that I look up to and enjoy to have on. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure, Anthony. I can't believe I'm here again, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. So thanks.
You know, this has been one heck of a year, right? I mean,
That's amazing.
I know you guys have been going helter skelter, just going. It's an amazing stuff with, coming out of the pandemic, the materials that are behind, all of the every single bid that's going out, repricing and rebidding, and the amount of work that we've done this year. It's been a big year, huh?
It's been an amazing year, and the repricing still doesn't help the prices. So it's just they keep going up, and I don't think there's an end in sight right now. So
No, I got a call the other day from a guy from uh, what was it, breakers.com, a guy down in Miami. They got
yeah,
another office out in California. And they're telling me that one point in the next 6 months, we may be out of breakers. I'm,
yeah,
I'm like, what? I mean, think about that. And think about anything that's 600 amps or above may be in a real crisis mode. So,
yeah.
just the amount of stuff that's out there, the amount of work that's going on, it's a lot, right? It's a lot for our people. Our jobs are already hard enough as they are. And
Exactly. You know, the funny thing is, too, is a lot of companies are hoarding. It's like it's the old toilet paper syndrome, right? During the pandemic, everybody's kind of hoarding parts, and they're getting harder and harder to find. I mean, we're signing some pretty big deals right now just to ensure that we have product to keep going through the end of next year. So it's been a real challenge. But
I was with a group yesterday. They're buying 10 stores at a time, and they're buying almost 10 stores a day. And they're,
yeah,
buying HVAC units, makeup air units, breaker panels, lighting packages, and which is a good sign because that means that, hey, look, we've got some work ahead of us. So, as always in our business, that's a good sign for right now. But the cost have some impact, but I just it shocks me when I notice how much more we're paying for very similar projects we had a year ago. They're, projects that were 1.2 are now, 1.9,
yeah.
in the twos. And you're like, man, I thought when we were going to hit the 1.4, those were big, and they're, very similar type projects. But there's no end in sight for how many they want to build.
Exactly. You know, the interesting thing, I heard that home building fell off by about 10% last month, just as a whole. And I'm hoping that that will be the precursor to maybe some falling in pricing and things of that nature. But right now, again, we're probably not going to see that for a good 6 months or so before we see the benefit of that. But it'll be interesting to see where the economy goes. I think after this election, I think that'll determine kind of, it may or may not determine where we're going, to be quite honest with you. I just think the world is kind of in a different place. I mean, offshore manufacturing is an issue, and we're actually manufacturing more onshore. So, is that a good or a bad benefit? Do we have the raw materials? I don't know. Well, it's kind of a toss up right now. I think everybody's just holding on to kind of see where things go. But thank God for a good sense of humor. So
And that's exactly right. Right. Staying in the moment. Right. I tell our teams, and we go through this, we have a project that gets pushed, or a date that happens, and we take it so personal. We get so dramatic. I mean, it's like our egos. Look, we get it. I mean, it's a big deal to us. A date slides, or something happens, or we miss a project we don't get, and it feels like, we're slipping. But the truth is, it's just what's going to happen right now. You're going to go through this right now, and how we act right now in the middle of a crisis is who we are, right? What we do during this time of crisis, or what do we call this industrial, this building boom that's happening, and what we do now and how we act with our people now is ultimately who we are as leaders as we go through this.
yeah, that's the truth. You know, pre-pandemic, we were building in about 75 to 90 days. 90 days was a long build.
Yeah.
And I mean, now we're 135 days. And I mean, we're struggling to get there.
Oh,
We have a project right now in Tennessee where they can't get a transformer. The electric company can't get a transformer. They're going back to old abandoned buildings. They're going back and looking at old stock, trying to get us open. And the building's been sitting for probably about 40 days. I mean, it's just the state of the world where we're at. The fortunate piece of that is, and you and I talk about this quite a bit, is I'm surrounded by a team of just the ultimate professionals. And I mean, we all work hard. We talk a lot. We share our issues with each other, and everybody is helping each other out. We're making phone calls. We're calling vendors across the country, suppliers, things of that nature, and we're finding what it is we need to keep moving forward. And so, in that regard, it's a blessing. It's listen. At the end of the day, this is what we love to do. The challenge is part of the allure in a twisted sort of way.
Yeah.
We have a goal, but you know what? We're guys that dig in and want to get it done, and I think that's part of what makes the construction industry as a whole great.
There was a time in my past when I thought this is happening to me, right? There was this like blaming of those guys, they're doing this to us, and this is that. Today, I look at it as this is a gift. The truth is, where we're going in the future, our business has been archaic at best forever. I mean, come on, we're not far off how they built the Coliseum. I can't imagine they built the Coliseum and the way we're building projects today. There's a couple fancy softwares and some iPhones, but we took heavy stuff over from one spot, we banged on it over here, and weather and supply and all the same similar demands were there, and budgets, and I'm certain there was there's some differences, but today the speed by which we're going, we're developing all these great stuff because of what's happening now. It's giving us this gift of really having to focus on places where we didn't. If construction is if the lifespan of a building is 150 years, right? It was this part that touched my finger that
Yes.
was our construction schedule. And people put up with some, crap from us. If we were not effective, they were there. But today we're going so fast, and all those dollars make a difference. And availability and speed to market is a big deal. That it's not, we can't do that anymore. It's just the business doesn't have the margins in it that it used to have. So
Yeah.
we've got to get a lot more efficient, right? It's just you can't operate like we used to.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And it's really interesting. I somebody had given me a book probably a couple of weeks ago, and it's just about how pencils are made, and it sounds silly, right?
Yeah.
How many countries touch a pencil to make sure that a pencil is made? Not one person can make a pencil. It takes a collaboration of all these different components and people and countries and things of that nature. And we're really, I think in the building industry as a whole, we kind of just took things for granted. Everything was there. We were able to pull things off the shelf and make things happen. And now the creativity. I think just not only on the construction side, but on architects and engineers, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, civils, to try to piece these projects together is phenomenal. And we talk a little bit about leadership and how leadership is so important at this time. I think part of being a good leader is just to remain calm, most importantly, and to value the people that are working alongside you, because I can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. But I mean, we're a collective team of professionals. I think the construction industry as a whole kind of has this, to your point about being a little archaic and how we present things. It has a stereotype of being just these blue collar guys that just get out there and they're slinging hammers and things of that nature. But it's really, there's an interesting group of people out there, and there's again, back to that point of it takes a village, right, to make these things happen. And we pulled off some miracles. I mean, I explained earlier that we're on track for 130 projects this year in this industry. It's phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. But the difference is the superintendent that runs the number of superintendents that run that are not the superintendents that were our father's superintendents, right? It's a different level. The entire industries had to raise up a notch. They are now, a superintendent today is a professional, right?
Yes.
It's not the back of the truck. And I don't mean any disrespect to anybody that's, smaller companies, but the companies that are delivering at that pace, it is a professional, well thought through. It is extremely organized. You can't deliver 130 projects in this market without having a very clear vision and a path that everybody is in alignment with to make that happen. That is not just by hey, we'll cut some real estate deals. It
Yeah.
takes a lot. It's a lot bigger foresight, a lot bigger thought process, And what's great is I think it's that we've really seen the industry go up a notch, right? Those supers are now the pros.
Yeah, amen to that. It's really funny. Even before we're kicking off a project, the lead times. You were talking about HVAC or suppliers today. We were on. I was on a call yesterday. 45 weeks in a lot of cases to get an HVAC unit. Now, fortunately, there is a little bit of. They are starting to stack up a little bit because we used. So our build is 967 square foot building, small building. It's all pretty much plug and play. We don't have a lot of kitchen equipment. We have HVAC, 2 3 ton HVAC units, 30,000 square foot lot. It's a lot of grading and things of that nature. But the materials that have to be ordered, the day we sign the contract, we give them 3 weeks to get everything in order before they kick off. We give them 7 days of mobilization, where we don't even call that a ground break. We're letting them get out there and get mobilized, and then we're day 7 we're calling it ground break. The reason we're doing that is optics number one, but also it's giving that GC the opportunity to be prepared for the project that they're undertaking, and it seems to be working really well for our brand. So
I'm noticing that across this country, every building department is changing, right?
yes,
They're all going digital, and this transformations happen a lot. I was on the phone all morning with City of Hallandale Beach, Florida. Great people, and
yeah,
the guy who's actually in charge of their online system, and we have 197 submittals to that permit application.
wow,
197 submittals, pages of we've resubmitted 197 separate sheets, and it's been a while. And I sat down with him, and what I'm really noticing is that as we're going through what we're going through, these cities are also trying to catch up.
yes,
And a lot of what we get faced with is that their systems aren't. They're thinking about it from a city point of view. In fact, he said to me, he goes, "Look, I'd like to call you on a regular basis because behind my desk, I don't see what you see."
yes,
Right? I didn't even notice that. He goes, we were sitting down. I go, so I'm going to bring a coordinator in. She's uploaded all that document in there. And here's what's happened. It was about they were needing some electrician, plumber, HVAC, their certificates to go in, and they were submitted, and somehow or another the old one wouldn't let the new one go up to the front. So every time
yeah,
the viewer would go, they go, "Are these guys just slow?" You know. And he finally said to me, he goes, "Okay, look, I'm not sure what you're doing, but you're doing something wrong. How about you just email them to me and I'll upload them?"
yeah,
Thanks, great. I'll open. And he did it, and he called me back. Goes, "Yeah, it's not you guys, it's us." And he got
yeah,
on Florida.gov and started talking to folks over there that run the software. And somehow or another was a thing where the certificate, because the way they back up the system, it was a long here way past my pay grade. They
yeah,
were we were uploaded into this system that doesn't get backed up. That's actually the one that gets seen by the next group. And so it was while we're going through the stuff that we're dealing with in the business, the cities and the communities that we're working with are going through the changes, which somewhere we feel like that's going to make it more easier. It's going to be easier to operate because it'll all be electronic instead of
yeah.
a physical world, but we're still transitioning.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. It's really it's interesting to say, because that's one of the big issues that we're facing right now, and fortunately, it's interesting you brought this subject up. Is the cities, because it is such a brand new system for them, and I think a lot of it came about because of the pandemic. They were scrambling to keep the cities open and moving, building departments moving, growth in their city happening, without the face to face. And so that's been happening across the country, but these systems aren't quite up to speed. So now our 45-day plan review process is 90, or in some instances 120.
Right.
But I think at a certain point, I think that will all kind of work itself out, and we'll be back to the 45, 60-day schedule. My hope. That's my hope.
But I've kind of felt like what I've been doing is I've been saying to the team, you got to, although I know they're going to this new modern thing, you got to go back to old school.
Yeah.
Go down there and meet the head building official and just talk through what you're going through. At the end of the here, not asking for any favors, but what
Yeah.
I'm going to here, Mr. Leader over here, let me show you what we're going through. And maybe I'm not sure why we're hitting these bumps. I sat down with the guy down there in Pembroke Pines for 3 hours at his desk, and the two of us with the architect, we just had this hoot of a time. We had this hoot of a time. By the time we're done, we were laughing. And then I called him again today, and we were talking. You built a relationship with him,
Yeah.
and now sometimes our expediters are great. They system oriented, and they're on top of it, and they're following a system. But sometimes it's just you got to go. All right, something in the system's not working. We're going to have to go old school, and until we can get the thing to work. Now, as an older guy around here, I'm like, let me. Like,
Let me polish off my medals.
yeah,
Head up down. Yeah.
there was a little bit of that. I got
Yeah. No, that's so funny. It's interesting is we use Zoom a lot. Obviously, we're on Zoom right now. It's a absolutely fantastic tool.
Yeah.
There is nothing better than face-to-face meetings. I mean, you can read body language. You can, if someone's not sure of something, you can't always tell when you're sitting on a Zoom call.
Sure.
But you get in front of them, you kind of have the conversation. It's amazing how much better the conversation goes. I think that we've maybe just as a whole, again, partly pandemic, partly the technological age, we rely heavily now on texting. I do, on Zoom calls, on emails, which I just despise. I get 500 emails a day, but I do think that just sitting down and old school, to your point, sitting down and giving a firm handshake and having a discussion with somebody, I think goes such a long way.
I kind of feel like I can't always do it. Like I wish I could. I could just go out there and do that. There's just too much going on. But every once in a while, when we get to those places where we just realize it's not working, and and it can happen. Same thing with our teams, right? When
Yes.
the problem is that as a leader of this group, and I'm sure you've gone through. Sometimes people give up on other team members, and I start to realize I can jump on that bandwagon with them, or ultimately at the end of the day, I always figure out it's not them.
Yeah.
It's always me. Somewhere I've stuck someone out there, and I had them drink off a fire hose, and they're frustrated, and that frustration comes off in communication, right?
Yes.
And the way they communicate, they start getting shorter, they start getting defensive, they lose the ability to see things, and you know, there was a great book I read by the guy that did Scientology. Well, what's his name?
L. Ron Hubbard.
Oh, Ron Hubbard. Great,
Yeah.
great book, right? And he did this whole thing on communication. And now I don't know about the whole Scientology thing, but the book was great about communication, right? He has this amazing communication course, and I just loved the way he taught communication. It was like in baby steps, and it was really like silly, like sit in a chair,
Yeah.
sit in a chair in front of somebody, and it went through these basic steps. And as I apply that to our departments, and I look at it and go, how are we training people? Because 9 times out of 10 we hire a pro, and we go, here, go, you're a pro, you just go do your thing.
Yes.
And even the pros walk into our system, and it's a little bit different than everybody else's, and people aren't used to sword here, that sword's over here on their other projects, or whatever the battles that they've used to doing. So slowing down and giving, really setting up, or at least owning on to when we have people failures,
Yes.
like looking at it going, okay, how could I have been responsible, or how am I responsible for what is happening with my teams, and where as a leader can I learn from that? And that sometimes it wasn't easy to do. I don't know that my younger me was always the best at that.
No, it's really we call it Dan speak, because sometimes I'm thinking 5, 6, 7 steps ahead, and I'm giving direction to that point, but I'm not telling you how to get from step 1 to step 7. I'm just looking at step 7 and explaining that's where we're going to go. And so we've really been great about collaborating. Just there's a lot of we joke about it a lot, but at the end of the day, we collaborate a lot. We try to lay out those steps a little more succinctly. You and I had spoken offline a little bit of just about when something's not communicated properly. I'm looking at my team saying, where did I fail? What did was I talking too fast? Was I not explaining myself correctly? Did I not provide enough documentation. At the end of the day, it all kind of comes back to you and how you lead, and there's failures in that. I always say I have a no ego policy. I'm like, for the love of God, please tell me if what I'm saying is wrong. And I love to be wrong because I'm learning, you're learning, the team's learning. We have a CM call every Thursday. I learn more on that CM call about what's going on in the field and what challenges we're up against than at any time during the week. And it's my favorite call of the week.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I used to think one-on-ones with our executives were fun. One-on-ones with our superintendents are fun. Like to me,
yes.
I, I get to see them, right?
Yeah.
And really, see them and what they're going through on a day-to-day basis and see them and the amazing work that they do, the tireless hours that they put in, and then the feeling they have when things get broken down, right? And really get to be with them during that time. All right, how can I make this? It was great. I had a 4-week period where I was out in the field. I covered a project for somebody because it was down in Boca. I got a house down there. I was like, you know what? I'll go down there. I'll go run a project. I hadn't done that in a minute, and
Yeah.
I was out there, day to day. Going, it was great about it because it had me go through our systems and our software and see the company from their point of view, right? How we line contracts up and how do we set things, how do we set up our vendors and the communication stuff that they go through. And it was just the most valuable time for me to get dirty, work all day long, get exhausted, hit the pillow at night, boom. It was great. And then I got back in the office and I did the same thing for project managers. I did a couple few weeks with where I was the project manager for a few projects, and just it was great to see, you know, how they experience what we give them to do, and the clients and the way we set them up, and sometimes some successes and failures that we do with them. So we just really brought in something, it's just a point of view I hadn't seen before. It's easy to stand up there and go, well, we're going to do this.
Yes.
For me, when it's saying that was easy to do. But then on top of all the other stuff you got me doing, Anthony, or all the other stuff that I've got going on, which one are my priorities? These safety reports you have me fill out that take me 45 minutes a day to fill out. Look, I know safety is important, but is there a way we can do this that happens in an app
Yeah.
where I can walk around and get some pictures? I can check people in, they can check themselves in, they can go through a safety, and like it was great stuff. Like I learned a lot of that. That's that you have to be vulnerable. You have to sit there and take it like, yeah, you can't add more to my plate. I'm gonna crack.
Yeah. And humility is key, right? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
to your point, I mean, just so when I went to work for McDonald's years ago, this is 20 years ago now. I mean, I'm dating myself, a little more, maybe a little more than 20. You had to go work in a shop for a week, and I'll tell you what, I, I just respect people as a whole. But I'll tell you what, my level of respect for quick service restaurant workers is astronomical. What they deal with day in and day out, I was dragging harder than I have in years working inside of a shop. And you know what? It gave me such perspective about, everything is a step. Every step is a second in the QSR industry. So it gave you a perspective on what tasks you're doing and when you're doing it, and how you're going through the flow. And I think honestly, every business in some way, shape, or form should do that. We had years later we had what was called a drop dead test um, at a waste management company I worked for, and we'd have to go into one of our counterparts' office and figure out what they're working on. And then we'd laugh about it at the end of the day, right? We'd get on our computers and look at their stuff. But you know what? The whole task was like, hey, we had a small management team, and we need to know what everybody else was working on. So if somebody disappeared, God forbid, we could step in and continue forward. And I think that kind of set the tone for me, realizing that, hey, everybody's got a voice here. You said something that really kind of struck a nerve earlier. You said, I had a chance to see my superintendents and what they do. Everybody wants to be recognized for
That's,
what they do.
that's right.
And no, we may think it's a minute or small task, but we probably don't understand it then.
That's right. That experience taught me a bunch, right? It just it gave me a spot like, number one, how do I make their lives simpler?
Yes.
Like how here, if I have any grace at all for the people that work for me, the people that work on our team, people that work in our company, how can I make their lives easier? Like,
Yes.
what am I not doing? Where can I make their lives better, more simple, right? I don't know if that will ever be perfect because we're construction, but how do I make it more simple, right? Gun, sword, knife, right? Know where
Yeah.
the things are at when they need them, right? They're in the middle of a battle. They know where their weapons and the tools they need to fight the battle are, right? So make it a lot easier. I was looking at our supers will have to go through 4 or 5 different software packages, and they're all great stuff. They're all great.
Yeah.
One we communicate with, one we budget with, one we contract with, and they're great. But what does that take someone to do, right? Why can't that be in one spot? So now I come back and I work with the executive team going, all right, we're going to have to figure out a stamp. And they're looking at me going, okay, we're going to go through more software. I'm like, look, it's a lot to
Yeah.
we're going through. I'm not looking to do it in 1 second, but in order to get to where we want to go, it's got to be simpler, right? We got to be able to make sure that the people at their point, wherever they're at, it can't all be centralized. It's
Yeah.
got to be decentralized. We got to get the decision logic down to a field level. They know how to make decisions much faster, and it can't have to come boil up to an upper level. At their level, these are things they can get done and make the decision quickly, right? In heat of battle, hey, if I need a forklift, I got a delivery happen, I need a forklift, boom, I got a forklift. Here's what I do it. Here's how I pay for it. I'm okay. I don't need to call anybody. Right. A guy's having a delivery. The driver's going to take off. I need that tile on a job site tomorrow. Tile guy starting at 7 a.m. That's not here, but he didn't show up with a forklift. I need great. Can I make the decision or not make a decision? Yes, go make the decision because that's important, right? What are those things that I can decentralize and give them the power to go do what they got to do to make sure that they're there? We had a fund that said, hey, look, what if you paid someone to, there's going to be times when you need someone to support doing some other things. Hey, can I pay a laborer to stay late at night and help somebody dig something? What might that do to the people for the next day? Does that clear their path so they can run all the plumbing underground because the plumbers digging and running and trenching? And look, if you got 2 laborers from the concrete cutting crew and they can stick around and maybe it costs us a few $100, great. But all the plumbing gets done and we get a plumbing inspection and we save a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, what does that do?
Priceless. Yeah.
Right. There's a logic I want to be able to push down there. Now, the fear has always been people who take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I do believe that people at this level, the professionals that we have today, it's a lot different than the people we've had in the superintendent world before. They're pros today. They act like
Yeah.
pros. I mean, at the most part, I'm sure there's going to be some exceptions to that, but there's a different quality to the construction world that I'm noticing.
No doubt. It's really interesting. You're talking about the apps and all that. A lot of the apps are fantastic. There are moments where I'm like, just pull out an Excel spreadsheet and slap it down on an Excel spreadsheet. I'm like, there's so many steps to your point of a 45-minute, form for safety requirements. I'm like, come on, there's got to be an easier way to do this. You and I are very similar. I always say my ultimate dream is that we automate so much that people are done at 5 o'clock at night and they're home with their families and or 3 in the afternoon and they're drinking a Mai Tai on the beach. Something that is that they can look back and say, wow, man, I had an extremely productive day. I was hitting on all cylinders, and I'm going to go home and celebrate that, however we need to celebrate that, instead of the world that we live in, you live in, I'm sure, where I work all day long and I'm like, wow, what did I get done today?
Yeah.
I was there are a lot of tasks completed, but was it productive?
It blows me. I mean, the speed. The other day, my wife and I were competing for who's busier. And first of all, that's never a conversation.
Never a competition. Yeah.
That should never. I was, and all I could say to her was, I just pray that your day isn't like mine. I,
Yeah.
I just, whatever. I'm certain you are busy, but our business goes so fast. I just sometimes I laugh. I'm like, wow. I will pop from Zoom call to a Teams meeting to a live meeting to it just the speed by which we can communicate today is it's a lot. It's great. It's what's moving the world. That's why you could do 130 stores, right? I mean, there's no there. You could not have done that manually before with fax machines.
No way.
No
No
way.
way.
That now, um, and then you start to believe that our teams are really, that this is all happening for us. That even though it's hectic, to really have a belief that what we're doing and where this is going is all a gift, right? And when you're tired, when I'm hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, I don't know that I believe that.
Yeah.
Like, all right, that just drives me crazy. But ultimately, when I look back and go, okay, 130 stores for the year, that's, brother, that's a pretty, that's a pretty amazing accomplishment. And the brands that are out there they're just knocking the socks off of it across this country every day. That's, this business is, it, it feels it. Now, a couple things I'm worried about. The end of this year, what's your thoughts on as we start to get to the end of the year?
Fortunately, like I said, we've been kind of planning for this. So we have some stock. We have some guarantees in place. Not only, guarantees as good as paper it's written on, but we do have some stock in place and some things of that nature. Mostly it's been electrical components, HVAC, some plumbing components, and there's some hinges and things like some oddball things. But for the most part, I think that we're in a pretty good place for that. So we should finish out the year good, get into the first quarter. I'm worried about after the first quarter, quite honestly.
Yeah, I'm telling people that really focus on getting as much done before Thanksgiving as possible. Really count on that time between Thanksgiving may be questionable, maybe a little bit tough because our folks have worked their took us off this year, and
Yeah.
people are gonna be looking for a little bit of a break with their families. So just be cognizant of that. Inspections in the world, material supplies. I think most of us are in that spot where we're buying doubles and triples to make sure that we've got protection for the projects that are coming. But you start looking 6 months out. Like I said, that breakers.com company was really the guy was warning me. He's like, look,
Yeah.
we can be out of everything 600 amps or above come 6 months from now.
Wow.
And I was like,
Well, it's interesting. You said Thanksgiving. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. Um, our year starts January 1st and goes till November 20th. And the reason why is because of the holiday start, hunting season, inclement weather, right? We've got everything working against us. So everything that we're done with by 11/20 is what we plan on opening as a brand for the year. Doesn't mean we're not going to open anything after that date, but I mean we're trying to hit our specific number by November 20th, so we can just plan on opening those shops in December, and then whatever we turn over in December, we'll move into January for opening. So that's kind of our strategy. It's been working, especially during the pandemic. It worked great, but we're probably in the best position right now since I've been with the brand, because we worked so hard. The real estate team worked so hard to make sure our pipeline was built up so that we would have the appropriate number of builds this year. And it's just, like I said, it's a testament to just an entire team effort. I would love to say, yeah, it's because you know what, Dan Batty's an awesome dude. I, I've been very blessed, Anthony, and just working for brands. Working for this brand in particular. They let me do what I need to do. I mean, they honestly don't question what it is I'm trying to accomplish. They said, "Here's your goal, whatever you need to get there." And I have maybe 3 conversations with the executive team a year, just because we're running and gunning so hard, and it's a great place to be. So
it's an awesome feeling to know that, right? I look across our brands and to know that it's not merit. It used to be, Anthony, when we were a smaller company. It used to be, right? Like there was a younger company, great, and I would hire, kind of, I would hire people and I would duct tape them to a stick and I'd move them. Today, it's the pros around us, right? It's the pros around you that give you the ability to do it. Now, look, Daniel, I know you. I know you're humble, but you've got some great vision, and the way that you lead is a great example of that. And the ownership that you take of the projects that you are, and the team, and their experience, and how you care about those people. It's a testament to the type of leader that you are, and what's happening, right? You can see the value and the outcome of that. It really starts to multiply. And I think that at the end of the day, it's a great example for folks that are out there. As you grow, how do I take extreme ownership of the people and the processes by which my team operates from? I watch you all the time and feel the same way. I feel like that's the example I want to be, right? I want to take extreme ownership in that, and I want to make sure that our people have, great, great processes, and whatever that's missing, it's not them, it's me. And
Yeah.
I think brother, that's a great spot to be in. I
Yeah.
I congratulate you on 130, brother. That's
Well, it's really funny. I was looking at the QSR magazine. Danny Klein, really really good guy. He just came out with the top 25 franchises or QSRs growing each year. And in 2021, he didn't list us, and so I called him out on it yesterday. But we would have landed right in the middle of the pack. I think Jersey Mike's built 246 locations last year. We built 99, and so I mean, but we are literally right behind all the big brands. And we're probably this year we're probably gonna surpass them. I bet we're, if we're 12 on the list, I bet we're 11 or no, I'm sorry, not 11, probably eight, 7 or 8 on the list. I
that's
mean, we're just running and gunning. I talked to the gentleman and all the different QSR brands I've worked for and people I've run into at the conventions and things of that nature. And a lot of people have slowed down. The costs have scared people away,
yeah.
and rightfully so. I mean, it's funny you were talking about the 1.2 to 1.9. We are right there. It's like you're picking my brain.
Yeah,
So,
it's it's funny. It's look, but what's happening is those folks who slow down
yeah,
are getting bypassed. Your store numbers are opening better. The long term effect of it, where you're heading as a brand, even though it is more expensive, ultimately, where you're at, it's the same way that you operate your team. They operate that business. It's not a coincidence that they have you at the helm of their development program. And Daniel, it is a pleasure, my brother. I adore
appreciate
you.
it.
I look up to you, and as my older brother.
Yes, older. It looks like Brad Pitt, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
Right,
I
right.
know.
So I love you, and love to catch up with you some more. As always, celebrate the work that we're doing. I wish you and your family, happy holidays as they start to come in here and start to enjoy the weather. And it's you're always welcome. You and the team are always welcome on the show. Love to have more of these interesting conversations,
I
folks.
would love-
If you want to hear more conversations like this, please take a second and like and subscribe. Daniel and I, it means the world to us to know that we're hitting stuff. Any comments or anything you want to say, or something you like or didn't like, tell me. Look, I'm open to. We're always open to more conversation. I love the feedback I get from the people that listen to the podcast. It just really does warm up my heart. Daniel, brother, thanks for being on.
Thank you, man.